I can start this if you like. So, I mean, I think an interesting place to start, right, is for me the HCU. So if we just talk pre and post HCU, because to me, I think that's kind of related to a lot of changes we're going to see. So I did a talk in 2022 at Brighton SEO, which was essentially around how people were very, very successfully spamming Google with brand new websites using AI content. I mean, we had multiple examples of sites that had gone from 0 to over 1 million visitors in like 12, 14, 16 weeks. Like absolutely wild stuff, right? And this happened, I think, at the kind of same time when Google was pushing out like BERT and talking about more semantic understanding of queries, and talking more about understanding pages better, understanding the context of the queries, taking small steps away from this kind of old school kind of search retrieval model they had. And I think it massively backfired because at the same time we had GPT-3 explosion of content. And if you look at the patents of how Google was kind of deciding if sites are worthwhile before they get user interaction data, they're doing stuff like taking sites that they know are good, that they have scored, and then building phrase models, and then basically comparing new sites they don't know to these phrase models. And I think the thing that backfired was, by their very nature, the way LLMs were generating content was naturally matching these phrase models quite well, which they were going on to generate embeddings from, because a lot of their training data was off very well known, good sites on the web. And I think the HCU, I think everyone agrees, has been very heavy handed, right? And it's essentially their band-aid, their leash at the moment to try and put a lid on all the spam, because we had basically a second renaissance of like niche blogging, I feel, around that time. We had like a few years where people were just putting stuff online and they were like, oh, hey, it's ranking. How's it ranking? And then we got like a whole bunch of new SEOs who are now 90% of them are very, very upset because they've just been completely obliterated. And I guess I'll finish on HCU. I don't know if I would call it helpful in terms of the actual content, because you only need to look at the moment. There's like 90,000 keywords ranking on LinkedIn Pulse for loans, and they're all AI generated. So the content hasn't changed. It's just the sites that are ranking that have changed.
It was the perfect storm. And I think that, Mark, you're spot on that this was heavily, let's say, influenced by AI, content automation, etc., etc. And I mean, also the cherry on the top, I will say, that allowed Google to get spam so easily was, for some reason, shockingly, they also releasing at some point after ChatGPT ended up getting released, etc., and the popularization of AI generated content, their guidelines about it saying, oh, we don't mind that you use automation for content as long as it follows this guidelines or rules and criteria, right? But yeah, realistically, like, yeah, AI generate content, purely generate content, at the end of the day was going to be very difficult to let's say fulfill those type of requirements. So that on one hand. I will also like to highlight a couple of other things that I believe that have influenced a lot the current state, crazy state of things at the moment. Then of course LLMs and ChatGPT and Perplexity and the likes, that for the first time ever, I believe Google started to get scared that there will be a shift in the search paradigm, and not a different, far easier way to search for things, and that will be much more easily, let's say, get used and to integrate in better, easily integrated in the way that the people will love to search, or will facilitate their search journey much better than what they were already providing on one hand. So at the same time, they had that other front open. and had to start testing a little bit. Oh, how do we integrate all of these AI features or LLMs in our current traditional SERP design or display, because we just cannot eliminate that. Otherwise, we lose our overall business model, and we won't be able to display ads as much with this conversational type of UI that ChatGPT was offering on one hand. And then I will say, finally, the final, let's say, negative influence into all of this is the new wave of platforms, social platforms, that especially younger generations like Gen Z are using much more to search for information instead of Google. Because of course, I love how this was highlighted by Danny Sullivan a week and a half ago when I asked him about this stuff, is that because of the SERPs were full of or started to get full of content marketing generated information rather than information that was created with the heart, and people who have a real interest and a real passion and firsthand experience or expertise. And of course, Google has reacted to all of that, giving more visibility and prominence to user-generated content on social platforms and so on, to try to keep up with this other threat. And all of this mess and influences is how we have gotten here. They trying to keep up with all of these threats, and unfortunately, not yet. I think that we can agree, not yet necessarily being able to fulfill the need of the users. Let's see how they do it now with the latest releases or announcements that they did last week, in which they are going to start giving more, let's say, visibility to ads, real visibility to ads in AI overviews. I think that at the end of the day, that is their business machine, their business model. So a lot will depend on that. And then on the other hand, the announcement of AI organized SERPs, which I believe is something that, even if right now is going to be released for a very specific group of queries, for suggestion, etc., is the type of evolution that I think will be much more naturally aligned to what the users will be fulfilled with, rather than the little bit of AI overviews plastering at the top of the SERP, just to be able to show that they have something and keep up, right? So, yeah.
Yeah, if we think about the evolution from 10 blue links through to today, we've gone through massive changes, like when we had the one box, and when we had ads come in, and we had anything, maps, anything come in, and it's always been pushing organic results down. And now we've got this AI. And I wonder if Update Vince from many, many years ago, which was all about brands and giving a boost to brands, isn't like it's the circle, the wheel has turned around again. And this AI overview, where they're going to be curating it, won't again be about recognized brands and recognized trusted authority sites. I don't know if Reddit's going to make it there, but AITA is always being read on Reddit. But, thinking about people creating passionate content, not just marketing stuff, not just AI generated marketing stuff. Is the wheel turned around again? We're back to that period when brands get a boost. We've got Venice, we've got Vince, we've got all those sorts of updates that are coming in and changing the SERPs in the same way as they did before. But we've got a new generation of people having to deal with that and having to face that uncertainty. And especially with like the bug that you found and the other things, the leak that you were looking into, Mark, and the bug that Mike and Mark. Love my dyslexia. My dyslexia makes the room a fun and funnier place. Mark, the bug that you found, and Mike, the leak that you read up and wrote about so thoroughly and in-depthly. I wonder if those things, along with how AI is changing the way that content is being created, is really is it a threat, or are we just another phase of the same point in the wheel, just 10 years, 12 years on?
So I'm glad you used the word threat, because that was exactly what I was thinking. Like, Google is just reacting to a series of threats right now. They're not really driving us in a direction. It's not so much about innovation, because if it was, they would have been the first ones to have large language models that were creating content, because they were sitting on the technology for years, right? But the
They
threat
needed
of
to milk
users
the
saying,
cow.
yeah, the threat of users thinking search quality is bad, and everyone saying, append Reddit to your queries in order to get good stuff. Okay, so Google is now giving us way more Reddit content in our service, which, like you just kind of alluded to, is the worst thing possible. I can't believe that we are so beholden to Reddit for our core technologies right now, whether it's large language model training or Google results. Is completely ridiculous to me. The DOJ antitrust trial has been a huge thing that has been like driving what they've been doing over the last few years. Of course, ChatGPT coming out of nowhere, and then Bing using that functionality. And again, Google already had a version of the AI overview like technology back in like 2021. They were just like, this isn't good enough. So we're really seeing Google respond to the pressures of the market, and having to do things to be like, hey, we're still good too, rather than leading the market. And this is a very strange place, because at least as long as I've been using Google, like, they have not really been there before. And so yes, we're seeing them react to like generative AI content and so on, and again, generally the search quality problem. But I don't think that we're inherently seeing anything new here, because again, to the points that you've all made, this is Panda again. This is Vincent and Venice again. It's not anything new. It's just the players have changed, right? Like, you've got, what is, like, SEO is on its like third or fourth generation now or whatever. And there's a lot of these kids that were not around for Panda. And so this is like dramatically new to them. But for brands that have been doing SEO for a long time, it is more of the same. It is very much like this cat and mouse game where we thought we were doing the right things, and then the right things have changed a bit, and then now we know more about the user signals that are used to reinforce rankings and so on. And so there's a lot of like new hypotheses of what we need to be doing, but again, it's more of the same. So yeah, Google's just not taking us anywhere. They're just kind of reacting to what everyone says they should be doing.
Mike, but to your point about it's a little bit more of the same if you're a brand. This is the thing, right? If we have been working in SEO with brands, with established brands, whether smaller brands or bigger brands, it's usually like the minimum viable effort to make things happen, because of course, cost effectiveness. So we know that of course there are things that are amazing for user experience, that we need to delight our customers, to et cetera, but the argument and the back and forth and the negotiation always with SEO is like, oh, but is that actually a ranking factor? Will that actually make us rank better? A lot of us have been saying, oh, but like, why do you care? You know that if you do this, you will be far ahead than your competitors, and this is how you will become top notch and the best in class and provide the best experiences. How and why Google will pick you up versus them. Oh, but is actually Google taking that into account, and is it going to go beyond their heads or not? Like, for example, from a semantic context standpoint, I love seeing everybody now to talk about embeddings, blah, 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 blah. But realistically, were you really just optimizing for specific keywords in your headings or whatever 3 years ago, 4 years ago, in which like a lot of this information started to get disclosed much more realistically? Like, no, at least many of us know, right? Like, so I believe that for all of us who have been working with established brands, it's like, what else can we do to up our game to make sure that we get on the top and we connect with our customers and users in a ROI positive way, cost effective way, because we need to fight for our resources on one hand and show proof, etc. And then on the other hand is a completely different animal, the different cohort, the niche players, the affiliate base, the ads, publishers, And unfortunately, it seems that more and more, and we are seeing this a lot with e-commerce focused product related SERPs, right? Google don't want these players anymore. They are the middlemen. Why they should be ranking publications, talking or reviewing about, I don't know, iPhones, if I can display them with my product carousels and my own buying guides and so on, right? So the real shift will, I believe, will happen that there for those type of cohorts and groups of players that until now they have been able to keep up and find a way, but with AI overviews and the impact that they will tend to have with commercial queries, product focused queries that were tested when it was the SGE before. And Google hasn't been releasing them for as many commercial queries at this point, but they will come. And with more and more of these changes, I'm focusing more on user-generated content, people-first content, etc. These are the type of players that I believe have the higher risk, let's say, and it can be really game-changing for them if they don't actually establish a brand, if they don't have a unique selling proposition, if they don't offer something further than just content and reviews, unfortunately, because for content, the middleman is now more and more Google itself, indeed.
Yeah, but at the same time, you know, we talk about brands like needing to do something different and better. Like they're not going to, right? Like unless you are actively working with them to like prove out like, hey, this new opportunity is worth doing. Everybody's gonna copy each other. That's just the nature of our space. And it's really unfortunate because, you know, I'm sure we've all come to clients with like brand new ideas and things we want to do. And they're like, well, what's our competitor doing? And it's like a continual, you know, snake eating its tail situation where everybody's just doing the same thing over and over. So I think that that's an opportunity for us to just like level up as like, I don't know, as people in marketing, right? Like, because it's so easy, especially now with generative AI, to just recreate what everyone else is doing. And, you know, in our space, we had like, what do they call it? The skyscraper technique, where it's like, okay, we find something that has a bunch of links, make a better version of it, and then put it out. No one ever made a better version. They just copied it. So I think that it really comes back to us like leveling up as marketers to do something better, because ultimately that's what Google wants to see is more unique stuff, more unique voices, more perspectives, and so on.
And if we, you know, bring Mark in, and Mark, what you found when you, and I don't know if we're allowed to say this or if you're like totally holding back on everything until we get to Vienna, but if we posit that perhaps there might be a score of some sort that maybe is assigned to an organic site, maybe of some sort that maybe, I don't know, Mark, you might have I maybe discovered, I'm not sure. You've got yourself on mute, like you're holding back, like you're like, no, I'm not going to say anything. You have to wait. You have to come to Vienna.
No, we good. So
thinking about these questions that have just been posed or that have just been discussed in these elements, and thinking about how we as marketers have to be more unique and whatnot, and that Google might be scoring us organically on whether we're unique or not. What are your thoughts?
I mean, I think it was 2012 or 2013, Google did their knowledge graph video where they said their strategy, you know, their long-term goal is to move away from a search engine and become an answers engine. So everything we're seeing now, like there shouldn't really be any like shocked Pikachu faces at what's happening. I saw someone in the comments saying, oh, I'm surprised Google didn't, you know, foresee AI content, AI answers. Like I'm absolutely sure they did, but the point is it's not ready. And the danger is like with anything in marketing and actually in just most things in life, the path of least resistance is basically the thing people are going to end up doing. If I can do the same thing and it costs me slightly less energy to do it, I'm probably going to do it that way, right? So we had things like ChatGPT come out, and the danger is that everyone kind of flocked to them, used them. And if you stopped someone in the street and said to them, you know, how does an LLM generate its answers? Like, I am sure like 99.9% won't have a clue, you know, that it's basically just using probability of tokens, and you know that's why it hallucinates and stuff. But the appearance was, and what those models are so good at doing is it appears to be giving credible answers. And I think Google was in an awkward position because we've got like 20 years of trust of Google, like, okay, it's going to give me like a halfway decent answer. And can you imagine if they were the first to roll out, say like AI overviews in their current state, telling people to put glue on in their cheese and whatever, they have I feel like a responsibility, right, in that method. So Mike's absolutely right. They've had to react to a market thing happening to show they're not sitting there. But I feel we're in a really awkward position. So I did an interview the other day where someone was asking about bias in search, and they were giving examples of, if I ask Google, was Trump a bad president? It just returns answers about why he was a bad president. But if I ask, was Trump a good president? It just returns articles about how good he was. It's just reinforcing my bias. And I think that's because we're now at a stage where, if you think about how we used to search on like Alta Vista, it'd be like Cro-Magnon, 2-3 words that we'd carefully selected. There's this illusion now that you can use, full sentences, and is as if Google is understanding what you're asking. But in the background, there's still just a lot of basic document retrieval stuff. It's like, okay, well, I'm looking for documents where it says Trump was bad. Okay. There's some guardrails on the edge there. And again, to I think Aleyda and Mike's point about there is this cyclical nature of the algorithm, which is basically everyone kind of starts figuring out what the things are that we need to be doing. And as Aleyda says, there's business pressure to do those things. And then that starts eroding the quality of search. And then we have a veer off in the other direction. And I think to me, this is a particularly interesting veer because I think we're waist deep in machine learning stuff now that Google's having trouble containing. And 2, we veered off into kind of new technology. And I think we're going to have a big new era of spam. Things are going to get much worse before they get better in terms of search. When Google first came out with their PageRank algorithm, they said it was unspammable, right? How, now you literally laugh at that when you hear it, right? And I think there's so many unknowns now with these new models we're using. And like the exploit things we found there, one of the key things seems to be, ways that Google are trying outside of the like knowledge graph, measure how many times like you as a brand are searched alongside keywords, how often your brand appears in anchor text. There do appear to be scores for those things. Those scores appear to impact how prominent you are in search. So used in post ranking, and their ex-CEO Eric Schmidt of Google literally said, what was it like, brands are the solution to the cesspit. And I think we've just veered hard back over there. But brands are always a safe bet. Again, as Mike was saying, like they're, that's always the gold standard. If I'm trying to rank for running shoes, and I'm working for Nike or whatever, I don't want to rank number 1 for running shoes. My end goal is I just want people searching for Nike running shoes. And that should be the end goal of SEOs. It's like, let's get them to do the branded search because we don't want to compete. We want people searching for us. And that's how you show, you can show search engines, no, I'm the best result.
Yeah.
Yeah,
Absolutely.
I think we're going into new spam territory, and things are going to
Yeah.
get a lot more spicy.
Funnily enough, regarding I want people search for my branded queries. 100%, I agree. Funnily enough, with AI overviews, those top results that were owned by the brands, especially the bigger brands, top category pages in the first 3 positions. It was I was analyzing this for a big brand client, and it was a few months ago. This changed. Google was ranking like top 4, 5 category facets because they are a big brand at the end of the day, and now they are only ranking a couple. So they are like diversifying more and more nowadays, and it's even worse when you see in the AI overviews for a lot of branded queries, and which we can see right now already in the product carousels. If you search an example for Nike women's shoes, yes, some of this come from the Nike website, but many others don't. Right, like so, yeah, and of course, at the end of the day, it's a sell from Nike, but yes, through the retailer, third party, etc. In any case, build a brand. That is definitely the way to create a moat right there. I wanted to give a little bit of visibility of something that Google gave us back in 2018. Ben Gomez published a blog post. I will be sharing it here. Improving search for the next 20 years. It was for the Google 20th anniversary, that he literally shared what they had supposedly in mind for the future. And we can see the shift from answers to journeys, which for me is pretty much discover, right? Recommending more ways for people to continue searching for more information, a query less, also way to look for information, the shift, which can also be connected with Google Lens and image visual search too. And finally, the shift from text to a more visual way of finding information, which again is Google Lens. And I believe that tends to be highly overlooked whenever we talk about the future of search, like image optimization and how we we tend nowadays to search for, oh, I want that product, like what is it? I don't even know the name. And show me more related products, and I want to shop from that, like optimizing for that, adding the structured data. Also Google saying how they are not right now, but in the future they want to stop relying on the merchant center for product related information too, and has been given more prominence on new releases of product related structured data. So there's definitely that. And I can also see how the personalized AI generated search results ties very well with this, that they had already been envisioning for the journeys, more suggestion for more queries to support and fulfill better user search results in a way that is much personalized. And they were already talking at that time about their, at that point, new topic layer in the knowledge graph, etc., that they were expecting to use with all of this. And here it is, right? But yeah, I can definitely see how they, for a lot of this, they already had it planned. But of course, like the disruption of LLMs and how this is happening and how much now they need to accelerate all of this is what and the storm with the DOJ case, etc., is what they potentially hadn't necessarily planned, right? So that could definitely generate a little bit of more pressure and stress to react and try to react / try to lead the way in some way, so they don't only look like the followers at this point, which they have lately.
And it's an embarrassment for Google, and so we can understand that they have been embarrassed by Microsoft, and so they've jumped into things perhaps a little bit more quickly than they were ready. However, talking about jumping into things a little bit more quickly than we were ready for. Obviously, Google was trying to stop me from saying things earlier when they had me lagging all to heck, and it might have been that spammy Jarvis thing I was running. Anyway, we don't talk about how Judith spams this social media. We're going to talk about SERP Conf Vienna. And what we're going to do is, in my little schedule thing, I have a line here where we're going to run a short promotional video. However, the special surprise is also coming up. So you're going to see us disappear, and no, it's not Google trying to shut me down again. It is actually our special secret surprise that's going to come up in just a second, because any moment now we're going to run a video and then there's going to be a banner instead of us on the screen. And so you're going to want to have your phones ready to take a picture, because, and this is the big surprise, I think I'm allowed to say it, Nicola's not here, I can't see him, so I'm going to just go with it and say the first 20 people that actually scan the QR code when it comes up will benefit for only the next 6 hours from a 40% discount to the SERP Conf Vienna. 40, that's almost half off the ticket price right now. So when the video comes and plays, then there's going to be a banner. Scan that QR code and make sure that you use it, because for 6 hours only, you're going to get that discount. So hopefully Nicola is going to take us into the amazing video and not whatever was happening to my internet earlier, which caused me to be all laggy and juddery, and my video to constantly buffer and then zap me into a
We're starting in 5 minutes.
Retail pretty much is in a perfect storm.
I don't see organic SEO changing that much in 5 years' time.
Yesterday was a blast.
I discovered so many things and I can't wait to apply it for my clients.
You'll see me next year.
Those kind of events are quite rare.
Aha, so we don't have a QR code. Sorry, it's just a promo code. The promo code is Future SEO. Oh, please don't share that. So, like, it's just for you guys because, like, 40% off is a pretty big discount. So, just for you guys here live in the SERP Conf webinar right now for the next 6 hours using that promo code, it's Future-SEO. You're going to get 40% off. And if you're a little bit slower or you're still waiting on your boss saying yes or trying to get budget signed off, say, look, boss, I can get 25% off for today only if you just sign off on this budget. And then after that, it's still 20% off. So if you're still struggling and you really need to make an argument for coming to SERP Conf and for learning from Aleyda and Mike and Mark and all these great people and listening to my horrible jokes, you need to make sure that you get these discounts and just say to your boss, look, what I'll do is I'll come back, I'll make a presentation of what I learned. The whole company will get the benefit of me going to SERP Conf. So it's all up to you. Just get out there, go don't argue with your boss. Make the case with your boss to come to SERP Conf and learn off of amazing people, and you'll get access to them in the breaks. So if you want to ask Mike something about the leak, if you want to ask Mark something, or maybe he doesn't want to answer questions about the bug he found and, maybe what he did or did not do with the information he got from that bug, or Aleyda and all of the information that she always has and is always so ready to share. You will have access to these and other great, amazing speakers at SERP Conf, October 30th in Vienna. Just make the case to your boss that you'll come and present afterwards to the company of what you learned and what's important for the company coming up. And that is worth more money than that ticket will ever cost them, plus airfare, plus hotel. It will make a company more money than it will cost them by having access to these amazing brains and the talks that they're going to be doing. Now, to move on from that, my big plug, because I MC it, but I enjoy it. I get to sit there and listen to all these great talks all day. So for me, it's fantastic. But we have had so many questions come through in the comments. You guys have been great. It's been really hard for Nicola to keep up with everything that's going on. So he's put some questions into the chat. And while the video was going on, we were able to scroll through and look at them. And the very first one is a little long-winded, and it's a little bit of a conspiracy theory, I should say, and query, both in one. And it is just the question is, or the theory and question is, despite creating high quality experience-based content, Google tends to rank pages from high brand search volume sites like Forbes higher, although that might be changing soon. I suspect Google will reduce crawl demand to cut costs and carbon footprint, influencing SEO to focus more on brand strength and search volume, making it similar to PR. What strategies should SEO professionals use to enhance brand strength for their blogs or websites? And I mean, I've spoken on brand, building a brand since I think 2010 at London Affiliate Conference, or maybe earlier, about the importance of building a brand. So do you guys, do you have any theories or any ideas about what strategies SEOs specifically should be selling internally or to their clients to help enhance brand strength?
So on that question, I think there's some good stuff at the end of the question there. In terms of the conspiracy theory of, Google, is probably trying to make crawling and stuff more efficient. But I think the kind of stuff they're doing now, like model-wise, is, in terms of footprint, is just going to dwarf a lot of what they're doing. I mean, again, Eric Schmidt, I saw him saying the other day, basically, we've got no chance of hitting any of our climate targets. We should just basically bank on AI to save us, which seems to be, the kind of big tech outlook. And I think the reason why I'm confident Google wouldn't do that is because it would cost them money. So with everything Google tells you, that you should be doing, there's this other pull in the other direction of how does that make or lose Google money? And I think, if they were like, we're going to sacrifice this to rank more sites with Forbes, it probably lose them money. There's some, strategies, obviously brand strategy is huge, and that's been a part of marketing for decades. I mean, I think there are interesting tactics you can use that sit alongside SEO that maybe, again, we've been a bit lazy for historically. So I'd say things like, if you're doing any like display advertising, even if it's offline, right? Rather than put a URL on something and be like, go to our website, it's whatever, .com, because it doesn't actually reflect, I don't think, how people respond to those, is pick a query that you're going to rank for that's branded and be like, search for candor, modern SEO strategies, if I've just written an article like that, because that's how people use search engines. And that's going to start, because our job, again, is, I've always said, for SEO is not to determine what we're doing as a business, but to do it in the best SEO way possible, make as much search engine noise. So we're already going to be doing those things. So let's do them in a way that makes it easy for search engines to recognize it.
SEO is about findability. And I'm going to put my former systems engineer student here hat, and it's a non-functional requirement of any software system or a product for this matter. So it's aligning SEO with your product triangle, with your functional features, what your product does, what is the unique selling proposition, you are better than your competitors, and understanding that and trying to surface that and incentivize your customers to search you for that and to get you to know you for that, your brand, right? And ultimately, as the gentleman here mentioned before, is like you should become the destination and incentivize them to search you directly rather than the generic term or query at the end of the day. The same from a sales standpoint is like, are you really cheap? Because it is a thing, right? In SEO, unfortunately, keyword research. What is the top search keyword out there? I have had so many clients through the years saying, look, we don't care that the cheap term is the top query permutation for informational queries. We are not cheap. We don't want to rank for that. We don't care about that. Our unique selling proposition and how we want to position ourselves in the market is this and this and this, and these are our mission, our vision, our characteristics, our principles, etc. So we need to become real marketers if we haven't yet, right? In case I know that many of us are already, but if we haven't already integrated those sort of principles into our work and aligned our work into the product of the website itself, but have been thinking only about tactics rather than how we give visibility to all of the awesome work from a product standpoint, marketing standpoint that already happens. It's great. I will also highlight, if you want a little bit of more a tactical approach or ideas, start researching into your branded queries. What are the questions that are being searched about your brands? What are people complaining about your brand, and how you can react to that, and what you can create that, and give that as an input to your team so they can improve that within the product too. So as a two-way type of channel to improve the product, not only to give it more visibility. Searches for your competitors too. Those players that you consider your competitors, what are their own branded terms? How are the customers or the potential customers recognizing them for, and how you can try to establish yourself there, not only by creating just an article about that, but by improving the product itself. So that is the type of mindset that we should have. I share here like a deck that I presented about aligning SEO with the product triangle. And this is the way of how, by the way, a lot of enterprise level companies think about SEO. SEO is about findability, given this layer of findability of whatever they have in place, from a product management standpoint, marketing standpoint, sales standpoints, all the campaigns, all the areas, and play well with them too at the end of the day. You don't want PPC people beating on branded queries all of a sudden without realizing only to get them to a landing page that will kind of cannibalize the page that you have already well optimized and so on, right? So there's so many ways to integrate that into your strategy.
Yeah, absolutely.
So the way I look at it is this, right? Like if we bucket the things that Google is looking at, there's of course relevance. Do you have the content to rank for the keywords you want? Authority, do you have the links? And then it's effectively user experience, because they're measuring the behaviors of users and how they react to results. And it's not just do they click on them, it's also like how much attention do they get, things like that. All three of those buckets are easier for brands. It's easier for a brand to build links. It's easier for a brand to invest in content relevance. It's easier for a brand to drive clicks because people click on things that they recognize. So this whole idea that like we can just trick our way into it, you kind of got to let go of that, right? Like build a brand. And the best example of that I can think of who like transitioned from being SEO driven to more brand driven would be Wayfair. So Wayfair, when they first came out, they were just a series of exact match domains. It was like, bestfurniture.com. They had like a whole bunch of those. And then they rolled it up into one site, which was a brand called Wayfair. And then they started investing very heavily in brands. So Mark brought up the idea of having ads with a call to action related to search. And so specifically in their TV commercials, they'd be like, Wayfair my couch, Wayfair my lighting. And like they would literally show the Google searches on the screen. And so that ultimately yielded a lot more people searching for their brand and then creating more of those brand signals outside of the core SEO thing. And I hate to use this gentleman as an example, but Neil Patel also did a good job of this. And I'm not saying that the tactic he used was one that I recommend, but a few years ago, he was doing a bunch of things where he had like very, good looking influencer models sharing a picture where they were holding a sign that said, "Who is Neil Patel?" And that, of course, created a lot of brand search for him. And if you look at his metrics around the time, his visibility and search went up dramatically as well. So there's just a variety of ways that you can use other channels to create more demand for you. And the whole way to really measure that would be looking at the growth of your branded search demand, basically.
Absolutely. Yeah. I think it's a really important point that we should be thinking outside of the search box as well when building a brand. So not just looking at SEO in building a brand, that there are other ways that we can create that demand that then feeds into searches. And I'm gonna jump over the second question and go to question number 3 that came in because we've got like 2 minutes left. And while the technical SEO question is near and dear to my heart, is it dead or is it not? Question number 3, I think is really, I know it's never dead. Technical SEO is never going to die, ever, 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 because we love it. We heart technical SEO. Number 3 is at the start, AI overviews were showing for roughly 15% of queries when they got introduced. Google then reduced this down to 7%. And we've discussed it a little bit, but does the panel feel like Google will dial them up again when they get them right? And I guess the when they get them right is the most important part, because as we already said earlier in the conversation, because Google is such a trusted partner for information and knowledge, they can't just go in hard and heavy and screw things up like ChatGPT. And we know it's not screwing things up. It's simply hallucinating. That is the math. But do you think they'll dial it up?
Yes, they are already doing it little by little. They have started with the less or least risky queries, the informational ones. And little by little, they have started to show them more and more across more industry, more type of query permutation. The other day, I spotted also a less informational one, a more commercially focused, already displaying like a carousel, like a product for the product ideas, like Parents Day, gifts ideas, things like that, right? And already featuring the product carousels that when you click display the product knowledge panel and so on. So little by little they are testing it, and I believe that, of course, but they want to have a positive net effect into their business, their ad business, which is why they are also now releasing the ads in there, while also trying to keep up a little bit the traffic and highlighting further the traffic with the new visualization and sidebar experience to publishers at the same time. I mean, they have a lot of skin in the game, unlike all of these other LLM players. So I understand the risk, much more responsibility for the web ecosystem. They are the first that shouldn't be interested that it dies. There needs to be incentive for people to create content. They need to get the traffic at the end of the day, even if they're not selling direct products or services at the end of the day. So there's that. And they are playing with that. Danny mentioned a week and a half ago that they are testing all the time. So when I asked, should we expect more this type of formats of AI overviews, like, we are testing all the time, so I cannot say, yeah, you will see this exact same type. It depends on the results of the test, but we can expect this experience to become prevalent and much more like the ones of the feature snippets, because they are always, all the time. If you see the way they communicate AI overviews, they are all communicating them and pointing out similarities. I will say that these are AI overviews on the AI overviews are feature snippets on steroids at the end of the day too, but the implications are much bigger. But what I will really like try to give a little bit of a weight here and highlight for everybody is please, let's ask Google for more visibility on the impact and adding filters in the Google Search Console for AI overviews, specific filters, information about the positions and which are the pages are included, and the position and the click-through rate and all the metrics that they provide for the traditional search results, but with an AI overviews, because AI overviews are becoming the top positions on the top of the top positions at the end of the day, the actual SERPs across so many experiences already and queries. So let's ask for that data, because it will be very, very important to decide if we want to really stay there or not, or what is our strategy to follow, and so on, etc. And of course, a better, much more straightforward method to specify that we want to be included in there beyond the not snippet or whatever tag that they want us to add that has implication for also other type of features, experiences too.
Yeah, and it is going to be, I think, a huge area. I think when we go to Vienna on the 30th of October this year, so it's not long now, it's coming up quickly. It's 20 and a few days, so it's countdown time, 3 weeks. It's not much time. We're going to be in Vienna. We're going to be together, and we're going to have a chance to ask these 3 amazing people, plus more speakers, about all of the questions that you guys had and more. So we didn't get to my favorite one, which is, well, the answer is no. Is technical SEO dead? No, that's an easy one to answer, but also a really interesting one about PPC. But because somebody who's claiming to be John Mueller says he's going to be in Vienna. But yeah, we're going to be in Vienna on the 30th of October. And hopefully what we'll be able to do is answer your questions and more, either during breaks or if they're relevant to the talk that's happening at the time, we will have Q&A at the end of each session. So please remember that you've got that code now, and it's been shared more than once. You've got the code for 40% off, 40% off. And as Mike pointed out, you will get the VIP tickets for the same price as a standard one by using the 40% off. So make the case to your manager, your boss, make the case for budget to go to SERP Conf. Future-SEO is the promo code. 6 hours though for the 40%. So you're either going to have to like ring up finance and be like, no, I have to go and it's a 40% discount, sign off the budget now, or you'll at least get 25% off for tomorrow. So you've got to be fast. And the 40% off is only for the first 20 tickets. So once the discounts are done for the first 20 tickets, that's it. They're done. So you've got to jump in there because there aren't actually 100 tickets left. There are fewer than that. So you're not going to be able to get in because we're going to run out of tickets. So please remember, we want you to join us and we want you to join these 3 amazing speakers at the event and all the other speakers as well. And hopefully we'll get like a very quick 10-second to 30-second summary from Mike and then Mark and then Aleyda about just the future of SEO and what they see, where they see, or you can also plug your talk in Vienna if you want. But Mike first, because I know you want to run.
Yeah, I gotta go. I mean, I think the future of SEO is really us having a better understanding of the telemetry behind search and then having a better understanding of how we can actually leverage that. I think that SEO software specifically is about a little over a decade behind Google now because of the lack of using vector embeddings and things like that. And I feel like there's just a lot of opportunity now for us to catch up by ourselves by enhancing the data that these tools give us. As far as my talk, we're going to talk about all these things, and I'm hopefully going to take a helicopter to get there.
Because you're going to be rushing there at the end.
See ya.
See ya, Mike. I know you've got to run, but we also want to hear from Mark and then from Aleyda. So I know you guys are going to stay around and just finish off our lovely, amazing panel. We could have gone on for 2 or 3 hours on this, I feel. Right. We could have kept going, although I know, Mark, you want to keep holding stuff back and not sharing too much because you're spoilering your talk on the 30th.
Yeah, so the talk on the 30th actually is going to be, it's got like probably the worst title, I think, of any talk there, but try to set your expectations accordingly. I'm talking about conceptual models in SEO. And what I mean by that is we hear all these kind of little bits of information, Mike was talking about embeddings and vectors, and we hear about technical SEO and JavaScript and rendering. And it's how you stitch all of these concepts together to build a model in your head where you can say, okay, if I do X, I'm expecting Y to come out the other end. Because to me, that's what advanced SEO is, right? There's lots of deep dives into like really, pretty wild topics about, information retrieval. You can get super sciencey into that, but understanding embeddings isn't going to probably get you to rank any better. There is a bigger picture, and that's kind of what I'm talking about, sprinkled with other things I found out about Google. So these conceptual kind of models are based on, the idea at least is that they're based on things that you're very sure or definitely sure are true, and then you kind of build layers of abstraction from there. So that's what I'm going to be talking about.
Awesome. And hopefully a little bit about the bug that you found.
Oh, there's a whole section on that. There's a whole section.
Fantastic. Thank you. And Aleyda, any final words for us?
Yes, I'm very looking forward to share more about e-commerce, SEO, and how that is already changing a lot. I believe that is one of those sectors that, generate and drive a lot of business at the end of the day. And it's potentially one of the first where we can already see how the SERPs have already become the destination with the sidebars, with the product knowledge panel, with so many SERP features, not only related to products, but also buying guides and referrals from Google to their own features and presence and extended presence for retailing sort of recommendations. So I am going to go through that, sharing a few insights that I have seen and providing a few tips in order to keep up your visibility despite all of that, and what we can expect next, especially with, I expect more AI overviews at the end of the day and further personalization of search results, even for these other areas and eventually too. So very looking forward to that.
Fantastic. And I know I can see by all the comments that have come through, we've had hundreds of comments. It's just been scrolling. I haven't been able to keep up with them at all. Thank goodness Nicola was there in the background running everything, because there was just so many comments coming through. I hope that we're able to answer some of the people who have been in the audience's questions, and we will of course save your questions, because I'm the one running the iPad laptop thingamaboober that we get all the questions on for the Q&A sessions. So I'll make sure to sneak in some of the ones that you guys have shared and we haven't been able to get to. And of course, as Google becomes more and more like Yahoo, we'll just say that the wheel turns and what's old becomes new again. And we will see all of you, hopefully, in Vienna, in Austria. So I will see you for now and see you again on October 30th.
See ya.
Bye-bye.
We're starting in 5 minutes.
Retail pretty much is in a perfect storm.
I don't see organic SEO changing that much in 5 years' time.
Yesterday was a blast.
I discovered so many things and I can't wait to apply it for my clients.
You'll see me next year.
Those kind of events are quite rare.